Right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. How's everyone going, or doing, as is also known? Let me know how the music to voice ratio is, because this is a new PC, new setup, all that kind of stuff. So, it might be a bit skewy. Music's banging with a nice bit of like lo-fi chill tunes just in the background. I'm trying to find the balance of not blowing my ears off, but also you guys being able to hear it and being able to hear my voice as well. A little louder. Go on then, just for you. How about that? Too loud? Too quiet? What's going on? It's weird because all I see is a couple of bars. It's like a shitty kind of trade, really. Thanks, man. That was good. Perfect. Right. How's everyone doing? Are we all bullish, bearish, somewhere in between, enjoying the relief bounces? I must admit I've been on the lazy side. Partly because I'm still in this tax year and I'm going to get raped anyway. And the effort to reward at this point is, you know, I might as well wait like literally 2 weeks and start again. But also because the volatility generally has been a bit dull, hasn't it? Let's be honest. A few decent moves on shit like Altcoin, but really, like, can I be bothered? Yeah. How's everyone else feeling though? Are you all bullish? Are you all hyped? Do you think this is the big recovery? We'll get to what I think in a bit, but do you think that this is a big trend reversal? Do you think that we're going to infinity? What's the consensus of chat? And while you're all typing that out, I'll just give a shout out to Destra Network for sponsoring the stream. Absolute legends. And we're gonna hope that this one starts a nice big uptrend, or at least a consolidation. Along with a lot of other alts that have been absolutely battered. Yeah, they've had the rundown, had the huge rundown, holding support, bosh, bosh, bosh. Breaking down trend, starting to round out on that nice little EMA. Hopefully we can start actually gaining some momentum on it. Low time frame build up, high time frame down. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel, I guess. I'm not super hyped for pretty much anything at the moment. Like, I still think that there's more likely ranging than full bull. But there have been some nice rotations, so it would be stupid to ignore them. Good evening, Mary. Good evening, everyone else. Bullish but not crazy, euphoric or hyped. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think we're seeing a lot of momentum just in terms of like relief bounces, right? Across the board in like shit that's been down only for a long time. You know, last week we talked about bonk and stuff like that. You know, I didn't actually take this trade, which is probably telling of everything. Sorry. Monday's lows thoughts. I don't really trade off like Monday's lows, to be honest, but we'll jump onto Bitcoin in a minute. I'm just going to try and do a little bit more flow through of last stream to this stream. What went well, what didn't, all that kind of stuff, so that like we're not learning together, but getting that kind of update of this is what we thought last week, this is how it played out or didn't, as the case may be. And yeah, we were looking at meme strength generally. Bonk, one of the better memes to play. Altcoin I kind of ignored. Bearer is a coin that's done really well for I don't really know what reason, but Bonk was the one that we called out last week and kind of looked at in quite a lot of detail. Altcoin's one that I covered on Thursday night in the group, and I will just show you how close I was to a very, very good rotational trade. So we went through a lot of logic actually on this trade entry, like down here, and essentially played this rotation up, and then it died, and then, you know, it was again and again and again. But if you held the position open, I'd got cucked by, you know, and didn't manage it as a rotational trade, which is, you know, I call rotational trades. They're not swing trades. They are as long as the rotation goes on for. So, you know, typically market oscillates like this, up, down. You know, it can do this, which is an uptrend. It can do this, which is a downtrend. It can do this kind of fuck around. and do whatever, right? But typically, one rotation for me is, sorry, let me just draw that again. One rotation for me is here to either here or here. So when we start losing momentum at the highs, or we start changing that trend and actually losing that kind of high, and start losing that relative strength on spaghetti, right? I have actually just long some Altcoin, so we'll jump into that first, because I think Altcoin is, and not here, I think Altcoin is certainly one of the better looking memes in general and charts, and I have punted straight into resistance here, purely off the back of little meme triangle and low time frame relative strength. So if we are looking at this and we're looking at performance in the last little rotation, i.e. this little pivot point here, you can see that Altcoin is kind of massively outperforming. So I've been building up a bit of a position, not a short position, a long position, in here, something like this. I'm not going to be as much of a pussy as before, and I'm playing for a rotation. Probably more like this, actually. So that's where I'm at the moment. Optimistic bull waiting for a reason. Yeah, that's fair. Need to flip 92.93 at last. Before that 67.72 is on the table. Yeah. So let's go through Bitcoin and where we are with Bitcoin in general. I think a lot of the people in the chat are kind of the similar opinion that, when we went through like the old short logic back here, why I shorted up here, why I jumped into this trade, what was the kind of reasoning and rationale. That was quite a good stream, but I'm going to delete that now because that logic's kind of all done. For me, it's kind of just, we're sat in a range. It doesn't matter how you kind of draw it. This range low here is kind of that pivotal point. If people want to get on a short for the next leg down, then that's the area that we've got to reject from, in my opinion. Equally, if you want to get super bullish, that's the area that we've got to reclaim. So it's really simple, like everything to play for at the 91 level. I think, the next trade, the next big Bitcoin trade for me will be at 91k, right? Really simple as that, or 92 or something like that, right? It'll be in this region. And it will depend largely on how we get to that region. If it's a very slow piss poor grind up, then I don't really want to just fade it, because typically I fade divergences. So I find big kind of inefficient moves diverging into a high time frame, range low, big high time frame level. Like that's a really, really good signal that actually there's probably going to be a pullback. If there is that pullback, chances are that actually, we're rejecting from this high time frame resistance, as we have done over here. It was support for a long time, and now potentially still resistance. Gotta do Pepe? Yeah, we'll come on to Pepe. But yeah, that's kind of my next trade here. Like, as this looks, it doesn't look too bad, given that we've reclaimed kind of the daily trend. We're starting to move up off this low. The last trade that I was like looking at was essentially this reclaim here of this. Let's just go into low time frame, or lower time frame, I should say. Essentially the breakout here. So that was the last trade I was looking at, but I didn't take it. I've not been particularly active. I've been in massive capital protection mode, just trying to enjoy things a little bit. Can we do Aptos and Near? We can certainly do Near. But yeah, what I really think would change the market up and change the pace of it massively is that 91k reclaim, like I said. And I think if that happens, if we get that, I think the entire market's going to go absolutely fucking mental. I think given that most alts are down like 80 to 90% from their local highs, that will be the like full risk on, right? I'm ready for some rotations. I'm going to load back on big, and I'm going to go for, some decent swing positions into highs. I've seen a lot of people do the fractal, the kind of bullshit deviation, power of 3, something like this. Maybe that happens. I'm not sure we get this high, but whatever. Maybe we get something like that, but either way, it's a nice trade setup and a nice thesis in terms of if we can reclaim that range, that former range, we'll get a good lot of relief across the market as a whole. So, keep your eye out for that. Equally, I would suggest keep your eye out for any divergences into this level. Now, it might not play out as a good trade in terms of, it just runs to the lows or whatever, and it just does this and goes straight down to like 73k. But I think if there's a place to kind of go, well, do you know what? I actually want to bet on this trend continuation down. The fact that, this isn't a particularly strong move, that was hugely inefficient. Like, we are just creating a series of like lower highs with one big kind of spike that, turns out to be inefficient because it's got a divergence in it. Like, assuming that happens, it's not a terrible play, in my opinion. So, if we run into this area with a divergence, I'm going to short it. If we reclaim it slowly or quite quickly, and with no divergences, nothing like that, and we hold it up, then I'll take the long position. Really, really simple. That's kind of all I'm looking for. And look, Altcoin's starting to kind of gain a little bit of momentum. Bitcoin could not shit the bed now, that would be ideal. But yeah, that's kind of Bitcoin. A lot of people have talked about like ETH BTC. Again, talked about similar levels on ETH BTC, but there's really just not much to trade here in my opinion because it's so weak, relatively speaking. The trade on ETH was this, which we marked out, but I didn't take it because I'm lazy. I kind of feel like people who haven't traded a lot should be trading these conditions, even if it's with a reasonably small balance, just to kind of get used to trading in harder conditions. But, for me, I'm happy taking the odd trade here and there. Like, I'm still in my Trump shorts. I think that plays out pretty well, to be honest with you. Where are we? Trump. This has been absolutely wild. I mean, it actually looks pretty decent in terms of, basing out and ranging. So hopefully it doesn't run on me and absolutely, tear me a new asshole. But we can wait and see. Okay, Charlie, which time frame have you got your position, long or short, with divergences? So anything from a 15-minute or 4-hour or daily divergence would work great on Bitcoin, if that's what you're talking about. But for it to print on the 4-hour, we're talking a few more days to play out. But yeah, I typically play anything. I'll play it like a 5-minute div if I'm playing rotations. But yeah, I'd say anything between like 15 and daily, really. But I highly doubt we get a daily divergence into such a clean level. So yeah. We can certainly jump into some other charts. A lot of charts look the same. They look like dog shit with a decent local move. FWOG being a very good example. If someone wanted to chart Pepe, we actually talked about Pepe in the group, and if you look, that was like the thought process. Let's go through the old thought process because it's quite a good one. I talked about that, these are the periods of volatility. There's like 4 periods in, nearly a year or 5 periods in nearly a year that are like excessive in terms of return, right? And that's kind of the thing that I'm trading for, right? Like these big periods where it's absolutely mental in terms of the runs that we get. I think after a kind of 60, 70, 80% drawdown, typically markets range and they take their time to recover, right? It's not just sell off, bounce back. So I'm being a lot more patient than a lot of other people, purely because I suppose I can be, because I'm reasonably fortunate in the position that I'm in. but also the fact that like I think that it's a little bit more chop than it is certainty at the moment. And there's never any certainty in markets, right? Like, look how confident we all were kind of before COVID, and then that just occurred and bosh, entire world goes to shit. But anyway, let's kind of stick to the point of strong sell-off. Typically we see some ranging in markets, right? If this was a 5-minute chart, you'd be like, yeah, this is probably going to consolidate for a bit before it then runs. But what we were talking about before, and I don't know if this was a group one or a public one, so we'll just assume it was public because group, because it was Friday-ish. But what I was talking about here was like this setup that's been quite common across the board, right? Strong downtrend, and you got this kind of clean level across here: resistance, 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 support, support, resistance, 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 breakthrough on a deviation. Like, it's a well-respected level, and the thought process here, which I think was when I was doing the stream, was if we can pull back and consolidate and hold it up, that actually the market's kind of accepted above this pivotal level. And pivots are great because, like, I love pivots just for the simple fact of I can be bullish above here and bearish below there, right? Really, really simple. Yeah, it's a wide level, right? It's not a penny or a cent wide. It's a 2.5% level. So it's not very, very, very specific, but it's what region or area am I happy to kind of buy this in, on the basis that if price is holding above it or holding this level, it's showing me some form of strength. So even though I didn't take that trade, it didn't work out in terms of the stop. Like, I have been so tight with my stops. I have not let anything breathe, which is probably a good reason why I'm not trading, and a good sort of lesson and observation to kind of learn from in these conditions, I guess, is that you need a bit, need a bit wider stops, just to kind of absorb some of that volatility. Please do move and Popcat. I'll do Popcat for you because, again, Popcat has got very similar to this. So if you're like looking for fresh trades on Pepe, to me this is just a range, and this is just standard range play, right? You play a breakout, you play some strength, you play some triangle memes if we're going for that breakout play, and Popcat just looks very, very similar to Pepe. Again, clean-ish pivotal level. Pepe is obviously a bit cleaner. Like, you've got this strong resistance here, right? Resistance, resistance, resistance. Like, they're pretty common in terms of like the chart patterns at the moment, and that tells you something. That tells you that the market's pretty weak because it's all moving in unison, right? There's not too much moving outside of the market. Outside of what everything else is doing. Like, the beta is really, really low. Everything's doing this, right? If it starts moving up, everything's moving up. But it's not like everything's going like this, or that there's a huge dispersion. So, like, if I look at alts over a longer period, the number of coins that are massively outperforming Bitcoin, there's a few, but even those, they're not particularly wild in terms of their range, right? This is like 20% to minus 6 in a week-long uptrend. And then we've only got a couple that are really outperforming, and one that's obviously majorly outperforming. And a lot of these, in terms of their liquidity, are reasonably low. AVAX is probably the best one, I guess, of a lot of them in terms of actual liquidity and the amount of force it would take to move it, kind of thing. But I'm in a Popcat long from 0.1945. That's actually before here. That's actually down here. It's a very nice entry. I think if you're doing like this, like for me, like this kind of trade is absolutely fine. Like, you've got a massive, like, huge downtrend, right? And if we start looking at like higher time frame, and we look at like some of the daily trends and stuff, I like it's not unreasonable to go for a decent run on some of these, particularly if we're starting to run on BTC. But again, the market isn't particularly strong. Do you think it's worth buying Pepe Spot? Let's have a look on Pepe Spot. Or just Pepe, you know. I think for me, where were we? I think for me, the trade on Pepe is kind of come and gone. And if you wanted to jump in, it's just a standard range trade. And I think there are better alternatives like Altcoin, for the kind of reason that I went over in terms of like, I actually think this setup is better. I think the relative strength is better. I think, you know, the chance of Altcoin pulling something like this reasonably high, versus say Pepe. But saying that, Pepe will probably just put in 10% candle right now. Thoughts on Kaito? I haven't actually. So full disclosure, I completely cheated my Kaito airdrop. I just went, well, I left that, whatever it was, like 7, 8, 10 grand, something like that. I just dumped it. I did not understand what the token did. And I was like, don't care. Same. Good. I'm glad it's someone else. I was like, I'd literally booked a 2-week trip to Florida at the time. I was like, let's pay for that. Happy days. So, cheers, Kaito. Really long takes, you like the chart? I mean, it's a pretty clean chart in terms of, 1, it's new. 2, any sell pressure has probably been chucked out already. You know, clean support, like very, very clean in terms of like here, but then even like across here, like you've got pretty much constant bidders, right? And we're starting to sort of cross the trend, jump up. You know, even if you're just playing this like simple level to level, it's reasonably decent. I can't blame anyone for jumping into this. From a pure like technical perspective, the only thing that I don't know about it, and one of the reasons that I don't typically, you know, try and swing just off clean charts is unless I've got a good reason to, like I think that X is the meta, right? I think that we're moving into a Y meta of whatever it might be. You know, Bert's doing well, but Bert's pretty illiquid. I can't see Kaito on here anywhere. Not easily anyway, it's probably stuck in here. So yeah, it's a very clean chart, but I like some form of relative strength. But yeah, it is, I can certainly see why you longed it. Use indicators like order flow and spot aggregate when looking for confluence to enter a trade. No, I tried to do that for a while. But the honest answer is it just created too many dimensions to a single trade. And the one thing that I think is actually the most important, above all things that, you know, you can stick on a chart, is momentum. And momentum you can get from price, you can get from EMAs, and you can get from relative strength. So it might be the fact that, you know, you're piecing a few bits of information together to get an outcome. That's fine. You know, it's not just one bit of information that's giving you the answer of, should you be aggressive in terms of taking multiple trades a day? Should you be aiming for swings, or should you be aiming for rotational trades, which, you know, they're not scalps, but they are much lower in their time frame. So they're anywhere between, you know, a couple of minutes and maybe an hour or two. It's not, you know, in and out in a second. So, you know, most people say scalp. What I do is scalping, and it's not. Scalping is like in and out in literal seconds. You know, if this is a 1 minute chart, if this is a 1 minute chart, you know, I'm kind of buying here to sell here. Like it's not what I do. Pretty much the exact trade you're in. Nice. Good luck with it, mate. I mean, it does look really nice from a kind of just simple big booty pattern. you know, you could even run it higher. If you get some strength into this and you're flipping that, like, yeah, there's kind of no point in selling. Like, new coins that are, you know, they're listed everywhere, like, look, we're talking about Binance. It's strong. People who trade 1 minute charts are insane. The thing about trade, you know, I love that you say that, actually. Do you know why? Because I tend to trade the 1 to 5 second spaghetti chart to look for relative strength. And the reason is that you can get... Oh, there you go, look, Kaito. It's nice. Everyone in the stream's just aping into Kaito. The reason is you get a much better view of the market at this level of granularity than you do the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the 10 minute, the 15 minute, right? Because by the time you've noticed on those time frames that your coin or a coin that you're interested in or potentially interested in has moved, it's too late. Whereas now we've got some relative strength confluence on Kaito that actually makes me think and go, oh, you know, maybe I should be jumping in that trade as well, or at least buying back the airdrop bag that I cheated at a minimum when it goes to $2. I don't particularly like the slow time frame price action, actually, in terms of, like, you know, consolidating basically, but like at the previous mid range. So maybe I'd be a little bit more waiting for something like this to jump on board and have a much tighter stop to play that kind of rotation out. But yeah, good to see some relative strength. So we'll go to Aptos. I mean, think about like stuff like Apt. I can't really get too excited about. I don't know why a lot of this stuff like would pump, if that makes sense. But I guess I'm just midwaying it, aren't I? You know, I can't really touch this with a barge pole because it's not super clean, and also it's just sat in this middle of this kind of range and compression. So you've got this range here, you've got this deviation here, you've got like a reclaim, heading to range highs, rejected. And now we're kind of sat in the literal pico middle of that range. I can't do anything with that, you know, sell it off, reclaim it, enter there, that kind of thing, great, but it's fucking weak, right? It's a really weak chart. Like, you look at this chart compared to a lot of the other ones where actually, well, not necessarily a lot of them, but you know, we had that move up, we had the sell-off, we had the consolidation against this resistance, had the move up. A lot of other charts reclaimed. They reclaimed this pivot. So why would you want to long this, which is like a much weaker chart than loads of other things? Again, Filecoin, even stuff like Bearer's looking pretty nice in terms of like, you know, how it's playing out at this level here, this level here. I don't want to long here, but my point being that the big sell-off happened, it consolidated, and then it just broke out and ran. We can go on to banana. Keems? I don't know what Keems meant. Grass. So Near, we talked about longing Near before when, like here. This was when we had the divergence setting in, which was actually really nice and caused a really nice move. But entire time frame support resistance, which then rejected from it. So that was back here. That was that trade that I posted on the timeline. Then we sold off massively, and then we started to recover. But this is what I mean in terms of, you know, this low time frame, like sell-off, or reasonably high time frame is daily chart. This sell-off here met with this consolidation. We broke out from it, and now we're trending up, right? We're in an uptrend, even though like we're just above the daily in terms of the daily trend, and it's only just starting to kind of flatten out and look to move up. But it's a much more promising chart than either Aptos or anything that, you know, has sold off and then just continued to consolidate and maybe have one attempt at breaking out or just sitting here. Does that make sense? Do you understand my logic for why I think this chart is much better? And why I think Near, like in general, you know, you look at the high time frame levels on Near, right? that's a good strong reclaim and a hold of that level, which has been prevalent for a long time, right? Support over here, support here, resistance there, not quite resistance there, but we'll take it, support there, and now, you know, deviation and support there, like previous resistance, like it's been around for a long time. There's a lot of price action and confluence there. Still downtrending from a high time frame perspective, like 3-day or weekly or whatever you want to look at it. But you start getting these like daily trend reclaims, getting these reasonable moves. Yeah, it's good. And again, do I want to just blind long here? No, absolutely not. Like, I'm not just going to tell you guys to jump into positions that I myself wouldn't enter, right? Like, that's not what I'm here to do. If I wanted a bag of Near... Sorry, I'm just tidying stuff up because I'm like OCD. Like, we've got these two high time frame levels, right? Now, we've kind of got a couple of choices in terms of the setups that I'd look to take. Now, locally, there's not much in terms of like range, like previous range lows. This is probably the closest, like this drawing here, which we are smack bang into resistance on it, right? So do I want to long into this resistance? Absolutely not. What would make me kind of jump into any form of position? Let's say I'm desperate for a bag of Near, something like this. So continue that market structure trend, reclaim the range, preferably on an inefficient move, pull it back, jump in, stops under here, and run it first to here, and then up to some form of other high time frame level, right? So we're jumping on, we're playing this as a trend, we're looking at it as though it kind of can't break this diagonal meme, right? Because we want that uptrending price action, and if we lose it and we start consolidating across here, I'll just take a break-even trade on it, right? I'm not going to try and hold it for a long period. I'll just jump out of it. I'll just assume that this is part of like a larger rotation. So yeah. How best to use TraderXO Macro Trend Scanner? So it depends how you trade, and it depends how you want to use it, which I get probably isn't the answer that you want. Like some people use it purely for confluence, right? And there's kind of a couple of ways that you can use it. And, I use it to check my bias, like locally. So what it actually is, as a couple of people have pointed out in the chat, is there's a couple of EMAs. I think the defaults, yeah, are 1225. So it's not 1221. And you can see both EMAs if you want to, and you can just have one if you prefer that. And the one that you see can be, whichever. So typically, when you have the faster EMA, so the shorter one that reacts quicker to price, because if a candle spikes here, a shorter one will go like that, whereas a longer one will take a longer time, because that's that candle here. Let's actually just draw it. Let's draw it properly. Like this candle, in the 12 EMA, it's a 12th of price, so it's going to go like that to the EMA. But if it's 25 candles, it's going to go like this, right? It's less of an impact, in very simple terms. So when the 12 starts going up or over the 25, that's bullish, and that's this cross here. So because short-term price action is doing much better than the longer-term one, i.e. the 25. And here it's the opposite. The short-term price action is much worse. So it's coloring it red. So I presume that you guys get that, but I just thought I'd, make that point. What a lot of people use it for, as I understand, like there's some videos on YouTube that are like this is a 100% win rate indicator, and clearly it fucking isn't. Because by the time it gets bearish, which is here, that is literally like the local low, and it's sold off massively. There's a couple of ways to use this, I think. And for me, the ways that I like to use it are high time frame bias checking. So if you look at like Bitcoin, like we are basically under that weekly trend. Everything has been green since here, so, you know, do I want to be super bearish? Well, no, but do I want to manage my risk? Yes. You know, it's starting to contract in terms of the differences between the two EMAs, which then would lead to a bearish kind of signal. But actually, if you go into like the 3-day, or was it the daily? I think XO messaged it to me and said, like, look, we've kind of lost trend up here. So there's two ways you can look at this, right? Firstly, the EMAs have crossed, which is there, and then everything's red, and that's bad. And then there's the second, which is price over or above, or over or under rather, these EMAs. So like this here is where, you know, if you're in shorts from up here, you kind of have to start thinking, this might be a little bit scary because we're actually starting to repoint the trend upwards. We're not far off across, you know, the distance between the two is not much at all. So if we can start holding up at this level, and we can hold this, well, you know, we really should start thinking about getting bullish. Now, if you combine that with other momentum indicators, Awesome Oscillator starting to flip bullish, and anyone who knows how Awesome Oscillator is calculated will recognize this. But we're also at the 50 kind of RSI retest. Now, you know, you can see through periods of strength, we kind of, whenever we touch that 50, we pretty much just kind of bounce from it, right? You know, that's where the equilibrium of the market is, around 50, you know, similar kind of ups and downs. And then as soon as we start going over that 50 dramatically, you know, it's because price is shot off. And I like to think of 50 RSI as like a bull bear kind of metric, like are we in a bull or bear market, or, you know, who is in control, buyers or sellers? You know, since back here, sellers have been in control. You know, on a daily basis, we haven't been able to break over that 50 RSI. Like every time we've come and attacked it, we've rejected. So, you know, is this kind of fourth time the breakthrough? If we make this, you know, if we make this a little bit bigger and zoom in, this is the highest we've been in a couple of months in terms of Bitcoin, right? The last time we were this high was, you know, back in February. So this is the strongest move since like the start of Feb. So it's like nearly 2 months ago. Does that make sense in terms of sort of how to use it? Basically, you can either join trends when we start crossing above and closing, or you can use it as a signal to kind of, yeah, when it crosses. Sorry, I butchered that completely. When the candle crosses the trend, that's one way, or when the EMAs cross each other, that's another way. Simple as that. Just hoping there's a better outlook for spot bag. Well, I'm sorry, mate. It's just how I see it, right? The market can see it in other ways. The market's the ultimate arbiter of all of these decisions and all of this kind of thought process. So, you know, it will decide ultimately, but what's OM? Think it has more downside. So OM has one of the biggest, like, dodgy market makers there is. It's actually one of the few trades that I've taken. You can see all my thought process here, really. Let's take this off. So we caught this trade in Paragon the other day because I logged on a Saturday. We talked about this move and running it up, and this 7115, 70155, whatever, is the kind of first target. So, you know, support, resistance, blah, blah, blah. We played the breakout here. Obviously, the stop wasn't like that to start with. I think the stop was something a bit... It was a bit longer, right? It was under here, essentially. But this was like a 7-8% rotation, and then it lost relative strength. And then, you know, I took 50% of my profits here, and then I let the other 50% go to here, and that's where I put my stop at break even. So, you know, I only made like 3% or whatever it was after 3.5% after fees and all that kind of bullshit. But it was a reasonable rotation. And then, yeah, sell off into support. potential like reclaim long setup, which occurred again on the weekend when I wasn't about. And yeah, I haven't traded it since, but if I delete all of this stuff and we start again and we do a bit of it together, we start looking at like that support, right? That's the previous range. That kind of is confluent with this, etc. We've kind of got another level here, which is support, 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 resistance, resistance, almost resistance. And now what we've got is this retest of like this local level. Yeah, it's quite simple. So this, what is this, guys? What is that? What is OM doing on a 4-hour basis? Anyone? Not 10xing. High high and higher low, an uptrend. Yes, exactly. Good work, boys and girls and theys and thems and whatever else is in the chat. I shouldn't judge. So, do I want to like, is it ready for the next leg down? Possibly. But it's been one of the strongest coins and it's got one of the weirdest charts I've ever seen in terms of like, this is just, these candles are just not real. Do you know what I mean? It's like they've just cornered a huge percent of the supply and they just absolutely bully the chart and retail. Do I want to fade this? I'm sure it'll be a glorious short at some point, but it's not for me. Not unless there's like something like this, And again, it's really easy to retrospectively say, yeah, I'd fade that, right? But like, if we go a bit deeper, let's have a little look. Let's just see if we actually get any form of signal on this, or if it is just literally like retarded as shit in terms of the move. No, you don't really get anything in terms of, you get like a half kind of signal on RSI, just that it's fading, but it's far too late. It's just this massive inefficient move. I guess there is a div there, right? And this is what I mean. There's a divergence on your 15-minute after a hugely inefficient move, and obviously that plays out. So if we get something like that, maybe I'd fade it. Maybe. But, looking at it here, we just went through Kaito and said the Kaito looks pretty bullish. Now, why wouldn't we say the same for OM? If anything, it looks like it just wants to rip up and start putting in another face melting move. Because the high time frame picture kind of suits it. Do I want to long into resistance? No. I'm happy to wait for either a breakout play and a little bit of low time frame relative strength. So let's see if we can see some OM on here. We cannot. Not yet anyway, but we can see some Altcoin, which is good for my long that is now distressed. My meme triangle is broken, which is a bit annoying, but good job we actually kept the stop a little bit wider because I'm streaming and not managing my position. But oh well. Ethereum Classic is the one that I've said I kind of want to long instead of Ethereum. So if you see me chirping on the timeline about Ethereum Classic, they haven't paid me, although they should pay me the amount I fucking talk about them. I think if ETH gets a run, Ethereum Classic will do a lot better. Yeah, there's so many coins that are just absolutely like decimated. You know, at new lows, like Woo, for example. It's kind of wild to see. But, wrong one. We talked about this before. There's a lot more money in the system still, and it keeps going up. We talked about if we start seeing some stalling of these levels, and then we start seeing a downtrend, that's when it's fucked, right? That's when you know the entire market is pretty fucked. But the stablecoin market just keeps growing. So there is a lot of investment in the space. There's a lot of money coming in still. I think now is the time to be kind of paying attention a bit more. Have your bearish bias on some things. Look for some decent hedges like we talked about on Bitcoin, like we talked about that 91, 92k level. Right? Have your plans to hedge against some downside, but also have some coins that you kind of want to buy. Why ETH Classic over ETH? Because it tends to put in like 20, 40, 50% moves in a day when ETH moves. Open to short in this place if resistance flip in support, or because your bias is bullish on it. You look for longs. OM before Filecoin. Yeah, so for OM, you know, I would quite happily short something that looks like this on the weekly, right? But bomb. The reason is that this kind of massive inefficient move followed by a lower high, one of my favorite shorting patterns. And I don't know if any of you remember, you probably don't. But on Whiff, we can replay this. That's where I took a massive short position on Whiff, and I posted with the target going to like, I don't know, 40 cents or something, and people went fucking mental and I got absolutely abused. And I held that short for fucking ages. I held it down to here, and like nobody was short in the market, right? Like everyone was just fucking euphoric as shit. I ended up like clearing most of it here, but it was fucking wild in terms of like how much abuse and hate I got. And now it's literally down at that 40 cents mark, right? It's literally fucking there. It came back and fully retested in the previous breakout area. Like fully retested this. Yeah, mate, we can check desync. Of course we can. They sponsor the stream, so I'll check it twice. We did at the start, but you know. But yeah, my point is on OM that setup, even if it's a high time frame setup, it works because it shows the momentum is dying. Do I know if Destra will publish a new roadmap? I do not, but I can certainly ask. This was my thought process for Destra, right? Simple, high time frame, support, bosh, 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 break a big downtrend, EMA starts to run it back please, thanks. All the boys are in there for desync. Love that. Seems like the one they published was achieved. Yeah, I'll ask. But yeah, I mean they've done a lot, and they're not going anywhere. So. Yeah, Sol's the only other one that looks pretty good. But again, I think it's late to the trade now. Again, strong downtrend, consolidation starting to run up. Simple thought process, right? Do you think any major memes like Doge, Pepe, etc. reach all-time high again? a tough one. I don't think so. The reason that I don't think so is I think there's too much liquidity dispersion. And I don't think that there's enough hype in general. So, yeah, there's just too many coins now. And I know people are like, oh, that's retarded. And it's like, is it? Like, even Elon doesn't have much, you know, impact on the market anymore. He used to do like a 10, 20, 30% candle on this stuff, right? Now, like, this is kind of the law of diminishing returns, yeah? Like, look how brutally it sold off. Basically all of this move here, completely unwound. So I know, it's a bit sad and depressing. I don't mean to be. But yeah, I just think there's too many. I think there'll always be a flavour of the month, and I think most people's probably better off playing the new memes anyway. Because your potential to 10, 100, 200 exit is much higher. Whereas you're never going to get like a 500x return from Doge, even if you're like, you know, even if Doge gets to $1, which is wild, you know, that's kind of it. It's not particularly great. I mean, it's good, don't get me wrong, incredible, but it's not, yeah, turning $1,000 into $5,000 isn't going to be retirement for you. Yeah, has anyone got any other questions? Because my voice is starting to go. Played Peanut and made bank, closed at $1, and it went way higher, now it's dead. Yeah, I mean, you should see some of the memes that I played, mate. Like, honest to God, I held like several percent of Fred at one point, and now that's like absolutely dead. I think I've round-tripped a huge amount of money on Bert. That can't be Fred. No, that's not it. That one. Holy shit, no way. What? Nah, that's not it, surely. What was this one? Ah, it can't be that, surely, man. What? No. Either way, whatever one it is. But yeah, absolutely wild. It's just not enough interest. When's the 1 Bitcoin giveaway? 1 Bitcoin's like $1,000 again, mate. The thing is with giveaways, it's just, I could do giveaways, but it just feels cringe. You get like 1 billion like people just smashing up your DMs, and yeah, as soon as you start, it's just like the road to nowhere. I don't really benefit massively from having like a bajillion followers. Do you know what I mean? I like doing this. It keeps me on my toes a bit, but safe short midterm 5x crypto. Any thoughts? I don't think there's any such thing as a safe short in crypto, to be honest, and that is as someone who is short. Even Trump, right? Trump's like unlocking a huge percentage of the supply imminently, but this chart looks kind of like it wants to rip. So Yeah. Is hype bottomed? I hope so. I did buy some hype at about $17 on average. So, you know, I've certainly not caught the bottom on it. I think I bought in here. So I'm like just coming back to break even. But the safe buy of hype is obviously this. There. And by safe, obviously there's nothing that is safe. What's your view on prop firms? Now that I'm not losing money trading and barely in the green over 50 trades, seriously considering them. I haven't got experience of them because I've been lucky enough to have some capital to start with to trade. But I think they're pretty good if you lack capital but have got experience. Me and Magus always debated turning the Paragon into a kind of education first and then prop firm afterwards. So like if you're good and you're putting time and effort into trading, and we can see that you're clearly dedicated. We've had a few traders go through Paragon Group and end up being prop traders. Like there's one on Twitter called Jaded. He works for BitBit now in his prop firm. We've had a couple of other ones as well. That's not me shitting the group, by the way, although obviously it is join the Paragon Group, blah blah blah. It's more a case of we've considered it, you know, putting our capital at risk for students who are good, and it's something that we might pursue because I do think that trading as a general field is getting more and more popular, right? I look at you guys, you're here on a Tuesday? Yes, it's Tuesday evening, listening to me chat about trading and markets and stuff. And someone asked earlier, do I trade TradFi? Not at all. Not at all. I mean, I've got a fuck ton of investments and money in TradFi, right, in terms of like S&P and all that kind of stuff, but I don't actively invest in it. A lot of my pension's in that kind of shite, but that's just to be tax efficient. I have to watch the rest of the stream later. That's alright, mate, there's not going to be much more. Wish you guys a nice evening. Yeah, have a nice evening, everybody. And Ultimate's my friend. But yeah, I think there's no rush. Whilst crypto Twitter will make you feel FOMO all the time, I don't think there's any real rush on anything. Even like Altcoin failing to break out. No edge of the trade and the memes aren't bad either. Yeah, true. Cheers, mate. What we do, trade isn't working out. Simply adjust the bias. There we go. So much better. Yeah, boys, I think I'm going to leave it there. I think that was a good stream. Covered off a lot of stuff. Basically, I'm looking at Bitcoin 91s. I'm not that interested in trading in the interim, like this stuff. There's just not much going on in terms of like low time frame rotations. I'll try a Altcoin long because it looks pretty good. You know, maybe rebuy something around 85 if we pull back and get down there, and we just essentially play, you know, the trend continuation of this uptrending meme channel, right? But there's better times to trade, better times coming, and I'm not going to sit here and just bullshit and be like, hey, I'm bullish everything, go fucking jump into everything. But yeah. I will love you all and leave you all. If you've not subscribed to my YouTube channel, what the fuck are you doing with your life? I'm joking. Just do it. Say it takes you 2 seconds, and I will appreciate it massively. And then I can tell my mum I've got 5,221 subscribers, and she'll be proud of me. Maybe one day. But no, seriously, guys. I appreciate all your support and being here, and liking the memes on Twitter and stuff. So, as long as you're here and as long as you like it, I will keep doing it. So I will see you soon. I'll see you next week, in fact. Au revoir.